Welcome to this introductory class in Primordial Sound Meditation. On behalf of Deepak Chopra and myself, we're very pleased that you've made this choice to begin this journey of self-discovery. I've been practicing and teaching meditation for over 30 years, and I've been practicing medicine for almost the same period of time. And I can say without any hesitation that of all the approaches to help enhance physical and emotional well-being, there's nothing as powerful as meditation. So, as a physician and as a teacher, I'm very pleased and very honored that you've decided to take this step in your journey of healing and transformation. Now, meditation is something that's becoming increasingly popular in Western society. That wasn't the case 20 or 30 years ago, but despite the fact that we see ourselves as a very technologically advanced and externally oriented culture, increasing numbers of people are recognizing that taking time to go internally to expand their awareness is as important as whatever external success they're seeking in their lives. So what is meditation? Meditation is really a process of exploring that inner space. Again, most of our training as children, as adults, is how do we master the outer world? How do we accomplish and achieve to acquire abundance and success in our lives? Meditation is based upon the principle that as vast as the infinite world is outside of ourselves, it's equally vast internally. And that by exploring that inner space, we can gain tools and create responses that enable us to be much more successful in the world, and most importantly, to have the physical and emotional health that actually allows us to enjoy what we're accomplishing. Primordial sound meditation is a very specific type of meditation. It's what we consider to be the most fundamental inward journey in this program of self-expansion. Primordial sound meditation is simply a technique of learning to quiet the internal dialogue that keeps our minds active so that we can experience that deeper, expanded silence which is at the source of all of our thinking and all of our doing. When we learn to quiet that internal dialogue, we gain access to a deeper, more creative level of our soul. And from that place, we can start making choices that enhance our health, our well-being, improve the quality of our relationships, help us find our meaning and purpose in life, and bring us the joy that this brief experience of being a human being is challenging us to do. The practice of primordial sound meditation is derived from an ancient meditation system. Both Dr. Chopra and I have been practicing meditation for over 30 years, and we've experimented with a variety of different techniques. About 15 years ago, we decided that there was a need to revive and to modernize these techniques so that they would be very accessible to people living in the Western world. And so in consultation with many meditation masters and experts, we formulated primordial sound meditation as what we believe to be the most effective and the most easily learned technology to quiet that inner dialogue and experience more expanded states of awareness. Our experience over the past many years shows us that it's very easily learned, even in people who have never had previous meditation experience, and that the benefits start to accrue very rapidly. So we're very excited to present this technique of primordial sound meditation, which really we trace its origins back to the Shankaracharya tradition of India. Adi Shankara was a great Vedic sage in the 7th or 8th century who really revitalized this core knowledge of the science of life and how our choices can translate into success and well-being. And so drawing upon this ancient Vedic wisdom and integrating it with our modern understanding of how human society functions and human physiology functions, we are very excited to offer this technology to help you enhance your emotional, your physical and your spiritual well-being. Now, what are the benefits of meditation? The benefits of meditation are available to us on multiple levels. On physical levels, on emotional and psychological levels, and ultimately on spiritual levels. So I'd like to just briefly review with you why we think that meditation is such an important component of a lifestyle devoted to health, happiness, love, meaning, and purpose. First, let's look at things on a physical level. An experience that almost everybody knows intimately is the experience of stress. What is stress? Stress is really anything that gets in the way of the fulfillment of our desires. And when we experience some obstacle to fulfilling our needs or our desires, our minds and our bodies react to try to overcome or go around those obstacles. On a physical level, that reaction in the short term can be helpful, but in the long term often has a degrading effect on our health. So studies dating back to the 1930s show that under stressful conditions, animals, including human beings, respond in really predictable ways. When we're facing stress, our heart starts to beat faster, our blood pressure rises, we start to sweat, our blood that was digesting our lunch goes into our arms and legs, we start to release stress hormones from our adrenal glands, our platelets, which are the little cells that keep us from clotting, clump together. And this response to stress is known by physiologists as the fight or flight response. And if the challenge, if the stress is actually something that's potentially threatening us on a physical level, then this response makes sense. If we're hiking through the jungle and a saber-toothed cat comes out at us, then raising our blood pressure, increasing our heart rate, starting to sweat, taking blood away from our stomach, activating these stress hormones, and preparing for the possibility of being injured by the platelets, these little clotting cells becoming more sticky, could potentially help us to survive a threatening situation in our lives. But the problem is that in modern society we activate this fight or flight response, this stress response, when the stress is really not so much physical, but more psychological or emotional. We may feel that impulse to fight or to run when we're stuck in rush hour traffic, or when we come into work and have too many emails to answer, or when we come home and we find that our telephone bill is too high. But fighting or flighting in those situations is generally not helpful. And over the course of time, it starts to tune our nervous system and our entire physiology towards that perception of the environment as being threatening. So in many ways, this stress response, this fight or flight response, is at the basis of many of the illnesses that are facing our society. High blood pressure, heart disease, digestive disturbances. The hormones that are released create anxiety or over time depression. They weaken our immune system, making us more susceptible to infections or to cancer. And so we want to have that ability to respond aggressively when we're actually being physically threatened, but most of the time the stress that's evoking that response is really not benefiting from our physiological activation. Meditation has been shown over the last 20 to 30 years to elicit a physiological change which in many ways is exactly opposite to the fight or flight response. So if you look at practitioners of meditation, and this has actually been shown in people who've just been practicing meditation for a few weeks, we see that the changes that occur in meditation are in many ways balancing to the changes of the fight or flight response. In fact, we call this physiological shift the restful awareness response, which is elicited through meditation techniques. So many scientific studies have shown that during meditation, the heart rate slows down, the blood pressure comes back down to normal, the breathing quiets down, blood flow increases in a healthier circulatory manner, that the stress hormone levels begin to fall, immune system improves, and digestive tract functioning also returns to a more balanced state. And so on a purely physical level, our experience and the experience of scientific studies over the past several decades show that meditation has a stress neutralizing effect. So it's not uncommon for people who start meditation to find that their blood pressure starts to come back to normal, that their digestive function starts to normalize, and that they start to sleep more soundly at night. So on a purely physical level, meditation has tremendous benefits. On an emotional and psychological level, meditation also has profound effects. Most people, when you ask them who they are, will tell you about the thoughts that are going through their mind. They'll tell you about their positions and their possessions. So if you go out on the street and ask someone, who are you? They're probably going to tell you what their job is, where they live, what their relationships are. They might tell you what kind of car they drive or what sports teams they're excited about. And all of those identifications are really reflections of the conversation that we're having with ourselves. If you take a moment to just listen to the thoughts going on in your mind, you'll recognize that those thoughts are about the past or the future. They're all either memories or anticipations. And that's how we define ourselves. The combination of all those thoughts and beliefs and memories and desires really are what create our personality. And for the most part, these are very habitual. That the thought patterns that continuously pass through our minds basically define who we are. But in some ways, they also imprison us. They imprison us in certain habitual or addicted behaviors. So that you drive to work in the same way, you listen to the same radio stations, you eat the same kind of foods, you follow the same patterns of behavior, you interact with people in the same types of emotional patterns. And it doesn't allow for the freedom to create something that might be more effective, more nourishing, more loving, more creative. Our experience, and many scientific studies have shown, that when people start meditating on a regular basis, instead of reacting in predictable, patterned, habitual ways, they start to recognize that they have choices. Choices to do things differently, choices to do things better, choices to exercise creativity in ways that previously they perhaps didn't have access to. So whether or not you're looking to improve your physical health by choosing to eat better, or to not be so stressed, or to sleep more soundly at night, or you're looking for choices in terms of how you can improve the quality of your relationships with your family and your coworkers and your friends, or whether or not you're looking for choices of how to understand and engage in deeper meaning and purpose in your life, on this psychological and emotional level, we find that meditation reduces the tendency towards habits and starts to give us the freedom to align our choices with what we really want to do in our lives. You know, many people have good intentions, but it's not so easy to align our choices with those intentions. And we find that when people start to meditate, it's much easier for them to drop habits that they know are not really useful for them. Maybe drop smoking, drop drinking too much alcohol, drop overeating, drop working compulsively, drop getting irritated so easily, drop having anxiety as a constant component of their lives. And so we find that when people meditate regularly, they begin to open up this whole new realm of psychological freedom, which benefits them and all the people in their lives. Finally, there's the benefit in terms of spiritual progress. What does that really mean? What does it mean to be on a spiritual path? From our perspective, spirituality really means having more fun. It means being more lighthearted. It means not taking yourself so seriously so that you can actually enjoy this experience rather than constantly agonizing over it and also constantly agonizing over how long it's going to last. So one of the qualities of spiritual progress, in our view, is that people feel more joyful, more lighthearted, more blissful, more easygoing. It doesn't mean that they lose their responsibility, their focus, or their intention. If anything, when people are meditating, they find it easier to accomplish their goals, to have more fulfilling relationships, more fulfilling work environments. But there's an internal state which is one of increasing enjoyment. The other thing that people notice as they begin their practice of meditation is that their desires start to be fulfilled a little bit more easily. They don't feel that they have to struggle and force so hard to get things to unfold the way they want them to. You know, the material model of life, which has predominated our society for the last 300 years, basically has said that human beings are physical things. like everything else that's physical in the world, and that the way that we engage in a physical world is through force and effort. This is the basic principle of Newton's laws of physics. But when we start to shift to the understanding that the world is not only physical, but also has fields of energy and information, and ultimately is actually a field of awareness or consciousness, then we begin to understand that the way that we interact in the world, the way that we get our needs and desires met, is more through our consciousness, through our attention and through our intention, through the appropriate use of timing and finesse. It's not something that we can manipulate, but as people begin to meditate and begin accessing that more expanded level of their awareness and find themselves naturally feeling more connected to this universal intelligence that permeates our universe, they find that it's much easier for them to get clarity on what they want in life and then to make those choices that are in alignment with that deeper intention. So this wonderful experience of feeling increasingly lighthearted while simultaneously noticing that you're getting your needs and desires met more easily allows life to be more joyful, easier, more fulfilling. And the consequence of that is our bodies feel better, our minds feel better, our relationships are more nourishing, and we feel more deeply connected to something bigger than ourselves. We find that we are engaging in choices that are not only good for us, but also seem to have a positive effect on the people around us. We're very pleased that you have one of our highly qualified teachers there to lead you through this path. And we look forward to hearing about your experiences and to engaging with you further in this path of self-discovery. So we're very happy that you've chosen to take this path of primordial sound meditation so that you can more deeply enjoy yourself.